rivals are socking it to Nasdaq over its plan to reimburse Facebook shareholders for the botched IPO.
One, I think that the scheme that was announced yesterday, I think is illegal. I think it's also shameless in an attempt to basically turn a big investor confidence eroding event into a competitive advantage. Nasdaq's going to have to go back to the drawing board.
There you see Nasdaq CEO. He's pretty upset, Colin, about Nasdaq's plan. They've botched this.
Yeah, they've gotten it wrong every which way. They have not. It's not really been a great example of how to do things.
And so they're telling their customers, hey, we know we messed up. We're not going to actually reimburse you.
No.
We're going to give you these kind of coupons. These
coupons,
Groupons. Groupons for future trades.
Yeah.
You'll get a discount off on those trades. So
yeah.
just tell a little bit more about how that works.
So what Nasdaq has been saying that they had set aside basically $10 million to recoup some of the costs that investors had when everything went wrong in the IPO back on May 18th. And then Nasdaq came out and said yesterday, we actually have $40 million, but it's not all cash. Most of it actually it's these coupons, which means that if you trade with us, you end up with these reduced costs. And so everybody is saying, look, you guys got it wrong the first time. Is there any way that a regulator is going to approve this after this? Right. After the entire securities industry has gotten a huge black eye from this thing? This is something that every investor, every sort of retail investor was watching for the first time in a long time. Right. You know, like, let's see if the markets work. No, the answer is no, they don't work.
It seems the accusation is that Nasdaq is trying to do it on the cheap. Now, William O'Brien, I think I misspoke the first go around. That was William O'Brien speaking on the introduction to this segment.
Right, he was speaking about Nasdaq, and he's very upset. Nasdaq, presented this thing as if this is going to show everybody that we want to do right by them, and the effect has been just the opposite. People are saying, look, you made a huge mistake here. You have to come clean on this, and there are estimates that losses due to these garbled trades and trades that weren't executed north of $100 million. So
$100 million.
North of $100 million.
And they're offering
$40 million, mostly not in cash.
Right.
So obviously people are not going to be satisfied. And sort of the background of this is that everybody's sort of threatening to sue each other, but nobody wants to take that move yet.
Right.
That's sort of the card that remains unplayed here.
Now, based on the reporting of our excellent reporters who've been on this story for quite some time, is it illegal what they're offering?
Well, right, that's an interesting question. I mean, that's and one of the questions too is going to be:
you're not answering it.
Are the regulators going to bless this sort of thing? Because it's a very high-profile setback. This whole thing has been bad on the order of the flash crash, which we all look back at and say, that's something that people had their faith shaken by the financial crisis. Right. Things were starting to look a little better. Again, you had this sort of play out again here.
So, Colin, in that you're not answering the question, I'm going to assume that it probably is legal. It's whether it's palatable is maybe the best question.
It certainly is not palatable from what we're hearing. I mean, the sorts of response that we're hearing from the people who be involved in this situation says that they just don't believe there's any way this is going to fly, and that Nasdaq's going to have to do some other things.
So what's the next step that you think? Do you think Nasdaq says, okay, we'll pay you cash, or we'll pay a bigger discount, or Groupon terms will get better?
I do think the Groupon thing, it's hard to see how that's going to fly, because it has this sort of coercive edge to it, right? Where people are saying, look, you screwed it up once, why should I have to go back and give you more business to make myself not even whole, to get back part of my losses? So I think the pressure is just building on them every day, and they look worse with every.
And Bob Greifeld, he had this very public mea culpa. I think he was on literally at 3 media outlets at the same time. It was some holographic trick. There he is. He seems so sorry, but it seemes like he personally, the message is not getting through.
Yeah, he's not.
Does he still have the confidence of his own shareholders and his board?
It's hard to imagine that anyone's going to. I mean, he was just out of touch from moment one on this, which is it's shocking because again, this was such a big deal. I mean, this is the kind of for the first time in a while, you had an offering that people were actually talking to. People would say, you'd say to someone on the street, what do you think about Facebook, and they would have an opinion. Right. Usually, that's not true with stock offerings. So for the guy to have been as out of touch as he seems to have been throughout this entire process is would be very disconcerting if you were a shareholder or a board member. Okay,
so your advice, Colin, is do not cash in your Groupons. Hold out for a better deal. You spurned Facebook investors.
Wait for the 2-for-1. You may get the 2-for-1. Okay.